the zoning hearing officer for San Mateo County Planning and Building Department. And I'm convening the March 20th, 2025 zoning hearing officer meeting here at 455 County Center in room 101. And for those who are on the Zoom, hello, the meeting is also available on Zoom if you click on the link on the agenda. So before we do anything else, let's say the national Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the first item that we have on our agenda today is public comment for items that are not on our agenda. So I have a speaker slip here for the item on the agenda, one of the items on the regular agenda, but is there anyone here who would like to, or anyone on the Zoom who would like to speak to an issue or a matter that is not on our agenda? If you're on the Zoom and you want to do that, please raise your hand. Or anyone here?
We don't have anyone.
Okay, very good. Well, then we'll move on to our regular agenda. And our first item is Seaside View LLC. Ted, can you please read this one into the record?
Planner, Summer Burleson, owner, Seaside View LLC, applicant, Kenneth Hope, and file number PLN 2019-00386. Location, West Point Avenue, Princeton, APN number 047-034-160. Me. Screen. Okay. Yeah, I have, let me know, then I will. I'll put it on slideshow.
Wonderful.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay, so thank you. Good morning. My name is Summer Burleson. I'm project planner for San Mateo County Planning and Building for this item. This item is for the consideration of a coastal development permit and design review permit to allow the operation of a kayak club facility on an undeveloped substandard size 3,893 square foot lot located on the east side of West Point Avenue in Princeton, shown here. The zoning is waterfront, design review, coastal development. Next slide. Thank you. The project proposes a 585 square foot portable modular unit, an 80 square foot deck that's attached to the unit, and an ADA compliant entrance ramp, 2 on-site parking spaces, 4-foot tall wood fencing along the site perimeter, an 80 square foot wood kiosk, and a water main line extension of approximately 50 feet along West Point Avenue. You can go ahead and click. It's gonna, I had this animated, so sorry. It's gonna click through a few times to just show the different elements.
Next one.
Keep going, yeah, keep going. That's the ADA ramp and then the 2 parking space locations. Yeah, thank you. And then we can go to the next slide, please. The modular unit includes a 384 square foot baseboard consisting of office space, changing shower room, a kitchenette, and a common space. We could click those. I know, so that's the 384 base area. And then a 200 square foot loft space above a portion of the unit that would be for storage and is accessible by a wall ladder, and it's approximately 4 feet in height. And then an 80 square foot deck attached to the unit. on the left, shown on the left side. Okay, thank you. Next slide. The height of the unit, overall is 15 feet, 10 inches. And again, that includes a 4-foot loft space and a pop-up element shown in these elevations. Next slide, please. The unit consists of brown vertical wood siding with brown cylindrical downward shielded lights. It's located nearest the interior side property line. The unit has been placed on the property, so these are actual photos of the site conditions. Surrounding development to the immediate north and east include 3-story mixed-use developments with brown scalloped shingles and tan and blue stucco siding, as you can see in some of these images. The fencing is 4 feet tall, horizontal wood fencing along the majority of the western bluff with black wire grid panels along the southern portion of the parcel. It's most visible looking out towards the ocean. Next slide, please. Okay, this is just a few photos of the interior space. So staff has reviewed and determined the project conforms with the applicable general plan policies and local coastal program policies that are listed here and discussed in further detail in the staff report. The Coastside County Water District has confirmed that the nearest water main line ends approximately 50 feet north of the project parcel. And so the applicant would be required to extend the water main line to serve the project. That would also have the added benefit of creating a looped water system for the Coastside County Water District. Well, the parcel is located on the western block of Princeton, shown here, which is most vulnerable to sea level rise and coastal erosion. The project proposes relatively small structures that are scaled and designed to be portable and easy to remove as coastal hazards risks increase over time. Riprap along the parcel segment of shoreline has accumulated since around 2013, which is also shown here. The riprap is located in the Coastal Commission's permitting jurisdiction, and the Coastal Commission has requested that within 60 days of final approval of the CDP, the applicant would start working with the Coastal Commission to address this unpermitted riprap, which could either lead to legalizing or removing. The project is subject to the shoreline access component of the LCP. The parcel is adjacent to West Point Avenue, which provides vertical shoreline access to the Princeton shoreline, and staff is recommending condition of approval number 4 that defers any shoreline access improvements provided by this property to a future date, and the county has an area-wide shoreline access plan in place to implement as part of a separate county effort referred to as Plan Princeton. Overall, though, the project will allow the property to be utilized for a lower intensity supportive water recreation activities in the meantime. And the project conforms with the zoning regulations as marine related clubs are a permittable use in the waterfront zoning district and complies with the development standards for height as well as lot coverage. And the project conforms with the zoning standards for parking as 2 parking spaces will be provided on site for the use. The project conforms with the design review standards that are applicable to the project scope. The size and scale of the project is appropriate for the substandard size parcel and relatively minor compared to surrounding developments. The proposed modular is situated on the lot to blend into the adjacent built environment. And it consists of natural colors and materials that are compatible to the surrounding environment, both the harbor siding as well as built development. Next slide, please. The project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15303 class 3 for the location of limited number of new structures in an urbanized area with public utilities where the total building square footage will not exceed 2,500 square feet and no hazardous materials or substances are involved. Sorry, please. And the Mid-Coast Community Council commented that they are in favor of the current proposal due to reduced building footprint and less required parking than the original proposed 3-story, 3,000 square foot building, and have no further comments at this time. A project referral was sent to the California Coastal Commission. The Coastal Commission recommended or requested conditions 17 through 20 be added, and those are included in attachment A of the staff report. And essentially these conditions speak to risks of coastal hazards and liabilities of developing in a coastal hazard area. The Coastal Commission, as I mentioned previously, also requested condition 21, which has been included, which would require the applicant to work with the Coastal Commission to remedy any Coastal Act violations from the unpermitted riprap. It's along the shoreline that's within their, that they've confirmed is within their jurisdiction. To address the potential for debris collection under the modular unit and added screening of the unit's support elements, which are shown below the unit here. Staff is recommending an additional condition that the applicant shall install skirting around the entirety of the modular unit to prevent debris collection and to screen the modular support elements. The skirting shall match the material and color of the unit's siding, and installation shall be confirmed by planning staff prior to a building permit final inspection. Before we move to the recommendation, I just want to acknowledge that staff did receive a comment letter this morning from Wayward Lot Investment Company conveying objections to the approval of the CDP and the design review permit for reasons that they own a parcel between the project site and the ocean, and the proposed club use would generate trespassers across Wayward's property en route to the beach and the ocean. And with regards to this comment, staff would provide that the State Lands Commission takes jurisdiction and management over authority over tidelands and submerged lands below mean high tide, and holds them in public trust for the benefit of the public, including for water recreation activities such as what's being proposed here. In Princeton, they now have passed this over, in 1960, they passed it over through a grant to the Harbor Commission or Harbor District. But nonetheless, Waver's property is located below mean high tide and therefore would be subject to the public trust. And so staff does believe that any disputes on trespassing rights would be a separate private dispute and would not preclude the approval from the county for the requested coastal development permit and design review permit. The other comment that was mentioned in the comment letter that was received was that the kayak club lacks shoreline access pursuant to LCP policies 10.1 and 10.13 and so could not be approved, and staff would just provide the point of clarification that the LCP shoreline access policies are related to public access requirements, not private access requirements. We actually, the county doesn't have any regulations requiring development to provide direct access to the ocean or to the beach privately for their development proposals. Any use could, even water recreational uses that are dependent on the beach or the ocean, could pursue locating, anywhere, not just on the shoreline fronting properties of any location. And so I'll move to the staff's recommendation with that the zoning hearing officer approved the coastal development permit and design review permit, county file number PLN 2019-00386, by making the required findings and adopting the recommended conditions of approval with the added skirting condition that are otherwise found in attachment A of the staff report. So that concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Summer. Can you toggle back to the sort of drone view of the site that shows the
Yeah, that would be
the development there.
Oh,
that's perfect. So you mentioned that the Coastal Commission has indicated they want to do something about the riprap adjoining this property, or yeah, then along the shoreline of this property. And I see there's a mix of riprap, along this shoreline. Is any of that permitted?
Further east of the project site, the county does not have any records of it being permitted.
So I'm just trying to
available,
understand
correct.
the future, like if they pluck the riprap away here, it could potentially start to undermine the riprap to the edge of the riprap to the other side. And I was just curious whether, that stuff was placed pursuant to permits, because if not, then that could put all that in jeopardy. The other question I had, and then I'll open the public hearing, is public access was mentioned. And is there public access along the shoreline besides West Point?
There are other public access points from other straight ends along the shoreline. the
Yeah, but I
entirety
mean,
of the
like, I
shoreline,
guess,
but
is there
not
any public access in
in
the
this
picture
area.
besides West Point?
Yeah, not in this area.
I'm sorry, it was a vague question. That's all I have, thank you. I would like to open the public hearing, and I have one speaker slip so far, and it's from Mr. John T. Cowan. Please.
Hope you saw these maps, but they were attached to the.
Oh, yes, I did, thank you.
You might find them useful
All right,
during this conversation.
very good, thank you.
You might not. My name is John Callan. I represent the Wayward Lot Investment Company. And I'm going to start by asking for a continuance of this hearing, since it involves very complex issues of law and fact. And if you don't agree with me by the conclusion of my conversation, I'd like to have the opportunity to supplement arguments following this presentation. The proposed plan violates policies 10.1, 10.3 because Seaside View does not have shoreline access. It does not have legal access to the ocean. And you can see that by looking at the original subdivision map that's provided, and you can see where the ocean is. And you can see that West Point Avenue terminates in Ocean Boulevard. And on the opposite side of Ocean Boulevard, you see that there is a piece of property there. It varies in size. It goes up to about 75 feet in width, and stretches across the entirety of the Princeton subdivision. There is no access.
I'm listening.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. And we believe that we presume that staff believed that the Submerged Lands or Tidelands Trust, that the general rule is that all lands that are submerged or subject to the tidelands belong to the public trust and are controlled by the public trust doctrine, as Summer just pointed out. We believe that because we noted that in the recommended conditions of approval, number 18 on page 15 said, well, as the water changes, the title to the property changes. And as the waters rise, the public trust doctrine kicks in. However, Summer's wrong. The county is wrong. The public trust doctrine does not apply to this property, since it falls within the Rancho lands exception to the public trust doctrine. And that was confirmed back in 1984 by the United States Supreme Court in the landmark case of Summa Corp versus California.
Summa v.
SUMMA, Howard Hughes' old company, Summa Corp versus California, 1984.
Yeah, continue.
You may have heard about that, Mr. Clerk, because it's been coming up and coming up in the Martin's case. That was what was used in order to allow, I don't know his name, but the person to exclude people from his property. He used the Rancho lands exception, and it's cited in the legal books. We do have a memorandum of law that was prepared 30 years ago regarding this specific property. Because what the Rancho lands exception says is that if you have property that came from one of the original Rancho grants, this was all decided at the Treaty of Guadalupe in 1851. But what it says is that if there was a Mexican grant of real property, and this was all owned by Valencia back in the 1800s, and if that grant was confirmed by a federal patent, and there was a very specific procedural pathway. They had to survey the entirety of the ranch, they had to run newspaper ads for several days, and then they had to take it to court, and they had to have it affirmed by the court, the title on the property. It was theirs. And after they got the court confirmation, it was very common to get a federal patent that stated this land is yours. And the argument in the Suma case was, it was the Baluna Laguna down by Hughes's property in Century City. And he said, hey, I own this property. It's in this patent. It's mine. And the state said, oh no, Thailand's trust, you don't own the Laguna. That's our da-da-da-da. And the Supreme Court said, oh no. When that federal patent issues, it's a quitclaim deed from the federal government. Our predecessor took a patent from Andrew Johnson, I think it was, President Johnson. And nowhere in there does it mention the Thailand's trust. What the Supreme Court said in '84 was reaffirmed in Martin's case.
California or federal?
Well, the Supreme Court would be federal. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sir, of course.
You're a lawyer?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been practicing 30 years.
Thanks.
No
So
problem.
California or US Supreme Court?
I've never practiced for a Supreme Court. I've been up to the Ninth Circuit.
No, I said, who issued 1984 Summa Court v. Cal?
Oh, that was the Supreme Court of the United States.
Thank you.
So it's the law here.
Well, I'm just trying to understand.
I'm sorry. The memo makes a lot of sense. It was written 30 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't have time to read it while I was listening to you, so can you continue,
Well,
please?
I'm kind of amazed that I'm here because to me, everything seems so obvious and now it makes
Can
sense.
you please continue?
Yes, sir. Consequently, applicant cannot access the beach by trespassing against a neighboring property that joins the southern boundary of Ocean Boulevard. And in the original tentative map, you can see that there's a long strip of land because Brophy wanted to put up some sort of a boardwalk and wanted to have some use of those properties. Simply put, the Wayward Law Investment Company owns the simple title to the water, everything. And that's why the yacht club owns a strip out there. And that's why multiple homeowners alongside Ocean Boulevard own a strip out there because they all wanted to have access. The kayakers never purchased anything. They don't have any rights in the water. They don't have access to the ocean. And that's why we're concerned with the trespassers and with the and just trampling on property rights as well. I hope that made some sense to you.
Yes,
The memo will make perfect sense, and it cites the case correctly.
thank you very much. Is that it, Mr. Cowan?
Yeah, I reserve the right if you have any questions to return to and answer.
Okay, thank you. So anyone else, is the applicant here?
Yeah,
Would you have anything to add to the staff's presentation or, and have you read the staff report and do you agree with the findings and conditions of approval therein?
if allow me to
Yes,
really
please,
appreciate
go ahead.
Our planner here. Look at this one. I mean, now I kind of gradually become the local. I've been to the coast so often, Princeton by the Sea nowadays. I even become the kind of ambassador, I want to say. I travel to Taiwan, I tell people I have a project. We also have a place called Halong Bay on the coast and stuff like that. My client, he's on the line, he couldn't be here. They're the kayak club operator. I'm just the architect. I'm the runner. Because I, in a sense, like, we had a grandeur scheme before, but now we're trying to do a lower impact type of project. And it's we call it Park Model Recreational Vehicle. We got it from Salt Lake City. The night we did, the night is transport over, so it's there already. I hope Joe, you get a chance to swing by and take a look. And it's unreal. I mean, so if the climate change or whatever condition, sea level rise and all that, we would just, we'll take it away. The thing is that the owner own the property, and so we kind of follow along with what Summer kind of in a sense guiding us to do what's appropriate for the area. So we have done this project. So nothing else I want to say, but it's kind of interesting. I recently have heard in the city of San Francisco, after the COVID, they kind of developed a long strip of boulevard, kind of north of San Francisco Zoo, become Ocean Park, oceanfront park, right, for people to use. So I hope that we will be able to have not only the project but get a chance to use the facility as we briefly stated, attachment C, the operation hours, stuff like that. But we're very flexible. The operation hours mainly, say a weekend and holiday, but by appointment only. I hope we don't trespass people's property, and hopefully we'll get the project approved and we can move into getting our building permit and follow all the conditional approval. I mean, work with the coastal commission, everybody on the coast, and have a beautiful project there. That's what I want to say.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I forgot to ask if there was anybody on the Zoom who wanted to speak to this item. If you do, please raise your hand so we can get your input. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Okay, so Mr. Callan has raised a pretty substantive issue. I've studied this area when I was on the staff of the Planning and Building Department. And as a matter of fact, Summer and I did quite a bit of research into the nature of the public trust here, and in particular, its location. So, and based on that, I know that this property is within the area that the State Lands Commission has designated as the trust, the grant to the local entity, which in this case is the Harbor District. So back when it wasn't really a big issue until they started building breakwaters back in the late 50s, and at that time, Army Corps did a survey of the shoreline and identified the location of mean high tide at that time. And the State Lands Commission relied on that to describe the trust that it was granting to the county via the Harbor District as a agent of the county. So for practical purposes, the Harbor District is the trustee, so to speak, the active day-to-day trustee. And given that Tideland's grant specification by the Lands Commission, the staff has relied on that to assert that these parcels on the, well, Ocean Avenue itself, and as Summer pointed out in her presentation, the migration of the shoreline, whether it's due to accretion of sand or the erosion of the shoreline, the truss is mobile and moves with the tide line. I have to admit, I'm unfamiliar with this Rancho lands exception. And I'm not convinced that it applies here. But I don't know, Summer, how do you want to proceed, given this new information?
I'm not familiar with the SumaCorp case or the Rancho Land exception. Mr. Callan referenced, it would be something I think staff may want to look into just to ensure that there's no applicability to this project. And for that reason, I think it may be worthwhile to continue the item for staff to have an opportunity to look into it, unless further information, comes out here in the hearing that we
Yeah,
can
no, I
be a
don't,
little more sure that it's not applicable.
I don't feel like I have the time to digest this and, make a decision about whether it applies in this case. I'm pretty convinced that it doesn't, but I think it is, in matter of prudence, we should investigate it and determine whether whether it applies, and if so, what does it mean? And in particular, understanding the interaction of the trust, because State Lands Commission has said that this is subject.
Right.
And so we're operating with that authority in mind. But that said, Mr. Callan's raised an important issue that we need to investigate before we proceed. So we're going to have to continue this to probably, it's too late to get it on next time's agenda.
April 17th.
Yeah, that's right, because yeah,
Yeah.
April 17th.
Mhm.
So unless there's an objection, I'm going to continue this item to a meeting date to be specified in the future. I'm not going to say it's on the 17th because you may, in the course of your analysis, find that you need more time. So, but our goal is to get it on the 17th. So, thank you all for that, and we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is Joint Pole Association. Ted, can you please read that into the record?
Planner, Dinora Choa, owner, Joint Pole Association, applicant, T-Mobile, file number PLN 3009.00205, location 2965 Alpine Road, unincorporated area of Ladera, APN number 074-483-030.
Thanks very much. And Dorina, can you
Dinora.
Dinora, can you present this to us, please?
Yes, of course. So for the record, I'm Dinora Ochoa, the project planner for this item. I believe we are on the wrong. I think it's still on the first item's agenda. For some reason, yeah, it's not sharing.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we can go ahead and move forward to the next slide. Okay, so the project location is a utility pole that's about 175 feet east of the intersection of Alpine Road and La Cuesta Drive in the area of Ladera in unincorporated San Mateo County. Get to the next slide, please. So this project consists of the renewal of a use permit to allow the continued use of an existing facility that consists of 3 antennas that are mounted atop of a utility pole with 2 external TMAs mounted on a wood extension that raises the pole's height to 85 feet, 10 inches. There are 2 junction boxes, 3 pole mounted equipment cabinets, and 1 meter and 1 disconnected antenna. The antennas are concealed beneath a 16-inch cylinder that's also known as a radome. I may be saying that incorrectly. There are absolutely no physical changes that are proposed part of the existing approved facility as part of this renewal. So here, this is an east elevation of what the current status of the utility pole looks like with the extension and the radome on top. And below is where we have the junk box that conceals the rest of the equipment. So this project is categorically exempt under CEQA provision of section 15301 class 1 for the continued operation of an existing public or private facility involving no physical changes or expansion. So our recommendation is that the zoning hearing officer approve the use permit renewal for county file PLN 2009-00205 by making the required findings and adopting the conditions of approval listed in attachment A, which haven't changed from the previous conditions of approval.
Thank you, Denora. I don't have any questions, so I'm gonna open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here in the room or on the Zoom who would like to offer comment on this project. If so, please raise your hand or fill out a speaker card. Is there anyone?
We don't have anyone.
Okay, very good. Well, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
And I have reviewed the staff report, and pursuant to the findings and subject to the conditions of approval, I'm going to approve this this item. And I want to note that the item can be appealed to the approval can be appealed, and the appeal date is must be submitted in writing by March 20th, 2025 by 5 p.m. and be accompanied by a appeal fee of $1,962. That is all the matters that we have before us today. So unless there's anything else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.